Looky. We got ourselves a 2008 Chevrolet Equinox LT that needs a alternator replaced. Here's the alternator. But in order to do that, I have it mostly taken apart right now. Normally you'd have your air filter box right here and all that stuff. Got it mostly taken apart, but in order to remove that alternator, we need to take the tension off this serpentine belt right here so I can get the serpentine belt off that pulley, and even more important, get it back on the pulley. So you can take a bar or something and probably get it off, maybe damage it in the process, but good luck getting it back on. So you need to be able to release that tension, and you do that right down here, right below the alternator, directly below the alternator, where my middle finger is pointing, is a 3/8 inch square. I have my middle finger in it right now, right at the bottom of that pointy thing. And you put a 3/8 inch ratchet in there and pull up on the bar, and it turns that and releases the tension. And then up here, I can just take this belt off easily. The problem is you can't get a ratchet down there to do it, because any ratchet that you'd put in there is either going to be too short. It's either going to be too short, or if it's long enough to actually get the leverage, it's going to run into your engine mount here and some other stuff. So the popular wisdom on YouTube is that you have to not only remove this engine mount, but they say you have to jack up the engine a little bit to get access to something. I thought there's got to be a better way. And I know they make tensioner tools. So I thought, look at that space in there. If I could get a tensioner tool underneath here and come at it from that angle, I might be able to have just enough movement to bring that tensioner tool up and get the job done. Sure enough, look what I bought over at Napa. My boys at Napa hooked me up. I think it was $14 or $18. Evercraft. Comes with a bunch of stuff I don't need. It comes with some little wrench things. I guess I could use it for a bunch of other stuff. But this is what I need. The part I already took out. It's this long bar here. And it's basically just like a ratchet. I could put a socket on the end of that. A 3/8 inch ratchet attachment. I could put a socket on the end of that and use it as a wrench, but it wouldn't be a ratchet. What makes it useful is just this really long 24 inch, I think it's 24 inches, this really long bar, because it's a Slim Jim style. It can fit in there and do what I need to do. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to get this in position for you and show you that you can get it done on one of these Equinoxes from this first generation Equinox. This one's a 2008. You can get it done without removing the engine mount. So let me get that queued up for you, get everything in place, and I'll show you how I use this tensioner bar. All right, check it out, people. I got the bar in there. See that bar down there now? The end of the bar is in the little 3/8 inch square hole. I got my middle finger on it right next to my ring finger. You can see my ring. Right next to that's my middle finger touching that bar. And you can see that shiny black bar is down there. The other end of the bar is way over here, and there's the handle right there. Now I need to pull this bar up a few inches, and this is going to be in the way right here, these bolts. But if you're careful and you bend the bar a little bit, you can get that handle up enough to release the tension. And I'm going to see if I can get that in place next, and then I'll add a little bit more video once I've got that in place. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to pull up on this handle here, up and down, and then look at that tensioner down in there. See it rotating? Now, I can't do this with both hands and not hold the video camera So what I need to do is put the camera down. See that rotate like that? What I need to do is put the camera down, and then with my other hand at the peak of the tension being released, carefully take that belt off. So that's what's coming next. I need both hands to do it though. Check it out, folks. Check it out. Looky, looky. I bent the bar a little bit to get it around these bolts, and in the process it kind of got stuck in place for me, which is handy because at this position, stuck like that, I have the looseness that I need to remove this serpentine belt just off of the alternator. And I'm going to gently lay it back down, very carefully keeping it in place so I can do the rest of my alternator job, and then I'll carefully put it right back on when I'm done. Here's the bad news. Check out that engine mount. It's still in the way. If I want to replace the serpentine belt, which you really should do when you have the alternator off, unless it's a pretty new serpentine belt, you should replace it. If I want to replace that belt, there's no way to get the belt around that engine mount without removing it. Here's the good news. That's the bad news. Here's some more good news. I think I can remove this and get the belt through there. I don't have to jack the engine up to get access to use a regular old ratchet to access the tensioner. Since I don't have to do that, all I really need to do is slip the belt through. I think all I have to do is remove the engine mount. I don't have to also jack up the engine a few inches or an inch or a few millimeters or whatever they recommend in all the other YouTube videos. So at least for the purposes of replacing the alternator, this bar down here is all I needed. And you do not have to remove the engine mount on a Equinox of this era to replace the alternator. In fact, you might not even need this bar if you're strong enough and you can figure out a way to tug on that tensioner with a shorter tool. You can probably get it done without even buying this $14 or $18 tool. But I thought, you know what? I like having tools that make my life easier. So I thought it was a good investment, worth every penny, and I think it was. So let's get this alternator swapped, and then I'll show you the finished product. We'll fire this baby up and prove that you do not need to remove the engine mount to replace an alternator on an Equinox of this era. Looky, looky, there's that new alternator all in place. Obviously, I got the serpentine belt back on using the tensioner again, the tensioner bar. It's well, I'll show you the tool one more time before we're done here. And so the same tool you use to adjust the tensioner to make it so that the belt can come off, use the same tool to once the belt's back on, put the tension back in place, basically. You just lift that bar up and down, and it releases and replaces the tension as necessary. And so, yeah, it's working like a charm. Belt's back on. I did not have to remove the engine mounts, and I certainly did not have to jack up the engine. And as you can see, I got the air filter box and all the various electrical connections for the various sensors back in place. Everything's running the way it should. Obviously, the battery is reconnected. Disconnected that for safety, and that's reconnected, or else it wouldn't be running, right? So, but yeah, look at that pretty new alternator. I think it was about $210 for that. So I saved myself about $200 or $300 in labor at least, and save some money. Save some money. So yeah, here's that tool one more time. This is from Napa, and Evercrest is the brand. And yeah, they just call it a serpentine belt tool, but it's like a Slim Jim style. It's real slim. So if this bar can't fit in there, probably nothing's gonna fit in there because it's a real slim version. And it comes with some accessories. So what the heck? I got a new tool now. Probably never use it again, but just in case, I'll keep it around. And yeah, Looky, new alternator. New lease on life for the old Equinox. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat, throw them in the comments. As always, like and subscribe. We appreciate you. And I'm going to go take the Equinox. I'm going to go take the Knox for a drive with that new alternator. Looky.